Good evening, Agile acquisition enthusiasts, and welcome back to the Underground Digital Tiki Bar. It's Friday night. It's been a great week fixing acquisitions in the federal government, but that means it's time for another episode of Agile Acquisitions and Alcohol. So cheers. All right, let's get started. So anyone who knows me knows that when I'm not in my basement contemplating how to fix procurement in the federal government or downtown in DC actually trying to get it done, I am training in one form of martial arts or another because that is my other passion. And it got me thinking, a lot of times I'll hear people say, oh, that was some good contracting jujitsu or acquisition aikido. And I started thinking, is this a real term? Is this a real correlation between martial arts and how you move and what you do and the art of contracting? And I'm currently in the process of writing a blog that will go into more depth on this topic, but I wanted to go ahead and provide a little bit of my initial thoughts on this. So one of my favorite forms of martial arts that I train in right now is called Small Circle Jujitsu. It was founded by Professor Wally J. and is currently led by Leon J., a fantastic martial artist who I've had the great honor of training with. And so I thought I would use Small Circle Jujitsu as sort of the basis of the correlation here, primarily because Small Circle starts their principles. They have 10 basic principles in which the martial arts is founded. And I thought I'd use this video today to just take the first three and compare the first three principles of Small Circle Jiu-Jitsu with the art of contracting. So the first three principles are balance, mobility and stability, and avoiding head-on collisions of forces. So is there any relationship between that and the art of contracting? I think so, actually. I think it's actually a really strong analogy. When you look at balance, which is the basic principle of Small Circle and also pretty much any form of martial arts, the idea here is to maintain balance within yourself and to offset balance in your opponent. This is really also the foundation of all contracting and negotiations. One of the first things you learn in negotiation of contracting is the best form of negotiation or result of negotiation is a win-win. True balance. Both parties feel like they walk away from the negotiation and having reached their best interest to the greatest extent plausible. This is the greatest sense of balance. But there's also a more combative sense of balance that could be applied to the art of contracting, and that is maintaining your balance or maintaining your needs and what you're hoping to accomplish and offsetting the balance of your opponent. In that case, you are still using this as your core principle and your position from which you are negotiating. The second principle, mobility and stability. In terms of martial arts, this refers to primarily your center of gravity. So the lower the center of gravity, the more stability you have. The higher the center of gravity, the more mobility you have. When you change, you exchange one for the other, and you can't necessarily have both at the same time. Understanding this principle is extremely important in martial arts. It can be the difference between getting thrown across the mat or landing a strategic kick or punch to your opponent. In the art of contracting, there's also mobility and stability, and it's also a give and take. The more you dig yourself in to a specific position increases the likelihood that you will obtain that specific position, but it also decreases your ability to adjust to changing circumstances as the negotiations continue. So being aware and knowing when and where to really dig your heels in and where to build in the flexibility to move around based on other possible options. This reminds me of a specific negotiation that I was in many years ago, where I was looking to save the customer money in negotiations, and we were going round and round with the vendor. The vendor wouldn't budge. I was trying to negotiate down profit. When we got down to the crux of it, what they were really interested in was return on investment, and we were actually able to keep the profit where the vendor wanted it, but decrease the actual cost of the program itself. Both parties ended up being very happy, and that was only because I was able to keep that flexibility or mobility in my position. And the third position or principle that I'm going to discuss in this video is the avoiding head-on collisions of forces. In martial arts, absolutely, you want hard meets soft, soft meets hard, and you definitely don't want to attempt to take on a force direct. It's going to hurt. So the idea is to move out of the way, avoid that direct contact, and obtain the dominant position. This is also true in the art of contracting. Attempting to go head to head and bullying over, and in fact, this is not just contracting, this is the art of culture change, the art of leadership, the art of just obtaining buy-in. Attempting to bring two forces like this to jump out in front of something and just stop it with your own body may work, but it's going to likely leave you a little bit sore and is not the best approach and should only be used when absolutely necessary. As opposed to that, the alternative would be avoiding the collision altogether, moving out of the way, allowing that direct aggression, that direct anger, that direct opposition to move past you and attacking it from a different angle. In martial arts terms, you often consider moving to the 45, so moving slightly offline and then attacking to the center. In this particular case, we would be saying avoiding the direct condition of concern and moving slightly offline so that you can approach it from a different perspective. So there you have it. As I said, I'll be writing a much more detailed look into the comparison between the 10 principles of Small Circle Jujitsu and the art of contracting. Hopefully you will find this beneficial. In the meantime, if you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. As always, remember to subscribe, and until next week, cheers.